Today we're going to learn about the properties of equality, and most of these should be things that you used all throughout the year during Algebra 1, and then the rest of them will seem really obvious. So this is really basic stuff, but it's really important as the building blocks for how we're going to write proofs, starting with the next lesson. So first of all, we have the addition property. If A equals B, then A plus C equals B plus C. In other words, you can add the same amount to both sides of an equation, and the equation will still be the same. Subtraction property, if A equals B, then A minus C equals B minus C. So same idea, we can subtract the same amount from both sides of an equation. Multiplication and division are much the same thing. If A equals B, then A times C equals B times C. So I can multiply both sides of an equation by the same amount, and the equation will stay balanced. And if A equals B, then A divided by C equals B divided by C. So I can divide both sides of the equation by the same amount. The distributive property, if we have A times parentheses B plus C, then that will be equal to AB plus AC. So we distribute the A to both of the quantities inside, A times B plus A times C, distributive property. Substitution property. If A equals B, then A may be replaced by B in any expression or equation. So if these are the same thing, then anywhere I have an A, I could put a B instead because they're the same thing. The reflexive property, for any real number A equals A. A value will always equal itself. Super obvious. Just remember that this is called the reflexive property. A thing is equal to itself. The symmetric property states that if A equals B, then B equals A. In other words, it doesn't matter what order we put these in, on which side of the equal sign, they're still equal. And then finally, the transitive property, if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. So if these are equal to each other and these are equal to each other, that means that these will be equal to each other. This is kind of a algebraic property version of the law of syllogism. Now let's move on to this foldable. You should have a half sheet already, and then you're going to want to cut out each one of these so that you can put them where they go on the foldable. So first we have the reflexive property of equality. Remember, this is where a thing is equal to itself. So that's this one right here. If Z, then Z equals Z. Then we have the symmetric property, which means that it doesn't matter which side of the equal sign the part of the equations are on, they'll be still equal to each other. So if LM equals OP, then OP equals LM. So we can just flip the order, and this is still a correct equation. Next we have the transitive property. So if M equals 12 and Y equals 12, then M equals Y. So if these two things equal the same thing, then they also equal each other. Addition property of equality. If 10k minus 2 equals 12, then 10k equals 14, because I can add 2 to both sides. I add 2 to get rid of this minus 2. 12 plus 2 is 14, and that negative 2 cancels out. So 10k equals 14. Subtraction property of equality. If 13k plus 20 equals 30, then 13k equals 10, because we subtract 20 from both sides. So minus 20 to get rid of this plus 20, and it cancels out. And then 30 minus 20 equals 10, so 13k equals 10. Multiplication property of equality. If b divided by 3 equals 6, then b equals 18, because I can multiply both sides of the equation by the 3. This is b divided by 3. I multiply by 3 and it cancels out. 6 times 3 is 18, so b equals 18. Division property of equality. If 12x equals 36, then x equals 3, because I can divide both sides of the equation by the same thing. This is 12 times x. I'm going to divide both sides by that 12. That cancels out. 36 divided by 12 is 3, so x equals 3. Substitution property of equality. if 5k plus 7z equals 12 and k equals 2, then I can substitute 2 in place of the k. So 5 times 2 plus 7z equals 12. So instead of having a k, I can put the 2 in. I could go ahead and multiply that to be 10. So 10 plus 7z equals 12, and then I could solve for z. And finally, the distributive property. If 3 times parentheses y minus 6 equals 21, then I can distribute the 3 to both terms inside the parentheses, and I get 3y minus 18 equals 21. Go ahead and glue those in place and put them in your notebook.